I guess there is something about a garden, right? Where did God put people first time, right? It was in the garden. Put them in the Garden of Eden, a spectacular place, a place of beauty and peace, harmony. Everything was lovely in the garden, and we kind of get that, right? Now we're thinking about going to mole halls, right? We're going to get some plants. We're going to put some stuff out because we want something like that at our home. Maybe. And Linda and I will go, we usually go around Mother's Day. It's kind of a present I get for her as we go and grab some plants and put them in the ground. And neither one of us are good at it. Like, we're not good gardeners. We want to be, but we're not really good gardeners. But there's probably something in all of us, and I think maybe even because of where we live, that gardening and working the soil and doing all that stuff is just kind of who we are. It's kind of a part of us. And so we like that. One of my favorite places to go in Omaha is Lawrence Gardens. I just really like going out there. It's a spectacular place of beauty and peace until probably 100 strollers show up. And probably then 4 buses of fourth graders, right? It's always like, what are they doing here? Because really, we're the last, like, do fourth graders want to go to Lawrence Gardens? Like, if you tell them, hey, field trip today, Lawrence Gardens, like, we want to go to Dairy Queen. Like, so they're always that. So, but I mean, really probably for a whole lot less, you could take them to the Dairy Queen. But anyway, they're at the Lawrence Gardens, and they're disturbing my peace and my harmony with nature. So I have to get there early, like when it opens up, and that song kind of connects a little bit with that peaceful morning and spending some time with God. And we find Jesus going to Garden of Gethsemane a lot. In Luke 22, it says, then accompanied by the disciples, Jesus left the upstairs room and went as usual. Catch that? As usual. He that was one of his favorite places to go. He would find his way there. And there he told the disciples, pray that you will not give into temptation. He walked, so this is the walking stuff. He walked about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed. Father, if you're willing, please take this cup of suffering away. Yet I want your will to be done, and not mine. So this is fascinating. I find this intriguing here, that we get a glimpse into the fact that Jesus and God's will weren't matching up here. And it's not a sinful thing, but it's like a preference thing. Like, I don't want to do this. And my will is to not, right? So this is interesting. If anybody's prayer should be answered, it should be Jesus, right? So an angel from heaven appeared and strengthened him. He prayed more fervently, and he was in such great agony of spirit that his sweat fell to the ground like great drops of blood. At last, he stood up again and returned to the disciples, only to find them asleep, exhausted from grief. Why are you sleeping? This is a haunting question. This will, right? Unbelievable. Get up. And I don't know if there's a little bit of indignation here, but I almost sense this, or at least disappointment. Get up and pray so that you will not give in to temptation. So he's concerned about their spiritual life as well. A few days earlier than this, it was awesome. It was high fives. There was great joy, celebration, and laughter. They came into the holy city of Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. Thousands of people are coming into the city. If you lived within a certain range of Jerusalem, you were required, for sure the men of the household would go to Jerusalem for the Passover. It was required of them. You really didn't have to think about it. You had to plan your life around it, and you had to bring a sheep with you and all. But you stayed for days, and you celebrated, and it was a significant part of your, because you were to remember. You were to remember the night that the angel of death passed over your family's household. So we know the story, right? The 10 Commandments. I watched some of that last night. I'm always like, again, kind of like I stare at it a lot, like, that's crazy. I don't think I'd have put it that way, but okay. So it's interesting. And but that is when the nation of Israel had been they were slaves for 400 years. And finally God is acting, and he calls Moses who at this point had been a shepherd, at one time a prince of Egypt, is now living in seclusion away from the prying eyes of Egypt because he's a wanted man. And he's away. And he's living a nice, safe life. God calls him out of that spot and asks him and tells him to go. And I want you to talk to Pharaoh, and I want my people out of there. And we know there's some plagues and some stuff and bad things. But the worst night of all was the night where the angel of death was going to come into the nation of Egypt and kill the firstborn child of any of the households that didn't paint their doorposts with the blood of the lamb. And that was an insane night, a terrible night, as people died all over. Only those who had taken the blood of the lamb and put it on their doorposts, their families were saved. And so from there on out, it was, in fact, we know that the Pharaoh had had enough of these people and their God and kicked them out, like, get out, leave us alone. So they leave. And so every year they celebrate this happy and holy occasion for the nation of Israel. They don't want to forget how great God is and how horrible it was to be a slave. Don't forget that slavery is terrible. And God is good, so he rescues us. And so that's what they would do all the time. This Passover meal that Jesus is celebrating with his disciples, we know he goes to this, what we usually refer to as an upper room, a place of seclusion, away from the prying eyes of the Pharisees and the religious folks, because it got bad. Like, they came in and it was awesome, but Jesus said some things during the Holy Week that were very troubling to the Pharisees. So much so that they make him public enemy number one. His poster's up in the post office. We want this guy, dead or alive. We don't care. And so they are hiding carefully in seclusion to celebrate together. And probably they're not coming all together as a gang. Hey, table for 12. They don't do that. They're kind of coming in like, okay, one at a time. Just be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. And so they are there and they celebrate, and it's different. It's not quite, it's intense. It's not quite the same. Something's off here. Jesus even says some weird stuff. This is my body? What? This is my blood? What? This is weird talking. This is weird. We don't even understand. What are you talking about? And Jesus doesn't go into a Bible study at this point to explain. Later on, it gets figured out. But what is happening? And Judas gets up? Why is Judas getting up? What's he doing? It's weird. Jesus says, well, let's go to the garden. And that made sense for them. They were going in the darkness. And they were going from Jerusalem, and they had to go down through the Kidron Valley to get to the Garden of Gethsemane. And this is an amazing moment, right? The garden had been a place of peace and quiet and beauty. And Jesus, the only reason that Jesus gets to go to that garden, it's not a public garden. These were not public, hey, just come on in. These were gated, and they were only for the wealthy. Only the wealthy people in the regions had places like that. Poor people didn't have places where they could go that was pretty. You needed somebody to tend it, to care for it, to water it. Poor people didn't have that luxury of a garden. And I love the fact that here's a person of wealth who says to Jesus, I have a garden. Would you like to use it? What? Really? Isn't that great? Isn't that what we could use our money for? So we said to Jesus, I got this. Would you like to use it? Yeah. That would be wonderful. And so the disciples, they went there. They knew the place. They could go in there without having any problem at all. And so they go. The Kidron Valley is typically in the Bible, it is seen as a place of sorrow and death, murkiness. In the Old Testament, It was a place where the Baal idols and the Asherah idols were removed from the temple. And that's a different story. But at one point in the temple in Jerusalem, there were idols of Baal and Asherah. And these are terrible gods. And yet they're in the temple. At one point, they finally get it together and get rid of these idols, and they take them to the Kidron Valley and throw them in there because it was a dumping ground. This is where we put our trash, and it was kind of symbolic but also realistic. This is where things got dumped. So it wasn't even a lovely walk. Probably was still a dump. In fact, during Passover, it probably smelled like that because there was a stream that flowed through the Kidron Valley that came up to Jerusalem where the priests would dump the blood of the lamb into the creek, and it would flow down through that. So when Jesus walks through there, and his disciples walk through there, the blood of the lamb is already there. So Jesus goes and he prays. Jeremiah would tell us this: the entire area, including the graveyard and ash dump in the valley, all the fields out to the Kidron Valley on the east side, as far as the horse gate, will be, someday, could be, we're believing, someday will be holy to the Lord. This dump will become holy ground someday. And perhaps that was what was happening even now. So Jesus goes to the garden to pray, and he doesn't want to be alone to do it. So he brings his friends. Pretty good recipe, I think. He knows that it's going to get worse. So he brings his friends and he talks to God. When we go through a tough road, I think it's a good strategy. Go somewhere quiet, pretty. Bring your friends. Talk to God. Matthew records what Jesus even said in his prayer. He went on a little farther and bowed his face to the ground, praying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." He even says it again a little bit later in 3 verses. Jesus left them a second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done." This is spectacular and a difficult place to get. Again, I think Jesus is being honest, brutally honest. I think he's like, I don't want to do this. Don't ask me to do this. And I think that the Father, it would have been nice if he'd have just said, okay, we'll figure out a different way. I don't want to see that you go through that. I don't want you to have to deal with this. We'll figure out a different way for the salvation of the world. And so I suppose he could have got a committee together and said, hey, come up with some ideas. Let's throw it out and see what we got. What will it take for people to go to heaven? I don't know. Let's make them pay some money. Let's make them pay some. And so somebody said, how much money should they have to pay for their sins? Like, I don't know. What's a reasonable offer? Well, some people sin a lot, so I don't know. I think they have to come up with $100,000. Like their family, their whole family. Whoa, $100,000. What? That's ridiculous. That's nobody's going to do that. Poor people can't afford that. How are we supposed to get poor people into heaven? Like, if they got to come up with $100,000, they ain't going to be able to do it. They're going to be stuck. And we don't want to do that to the poor people. And some people aren't that bad. Like, they aren't $100,000 people. Like, they're pretty nice. What do we cut it down to? Like $10,000 per person in your family or so. I don't know, that's a lot. Like, I know, but there's MasterCard. They can do it. Just swipe it. Well, they'll have to pay it off before they die. I know. It's like, okay. So they come up with some number, but it's difficult, and it's hard. And so I don't think that's a good idea. What if we just kind of do it on the goodness factor? Like, they're good people. Like, we let the good people in, but the bad people can't come in. So we got to have some like bad. Like, what do you mean by bad? Well, I don't know. I think any axe murderer does not get in. Like, that's bad. Like, axe murder is terrible. And you know that, right? If you are a movie producer and you're producing another slasher thing, you're going to throw out the idea, hey, we need a good axe murderer in here. Yeah, I think that always sells. Get an axe murderer in there. Yeah, we need a chainsaw guy too. Yeah. Hey, now we're talking, right? Because chainsaw thing, bad. Axe murder is bad. But for the most part, they're probably like, hey, most people are good. They're not terrible. Okay. Well, I mean, there's probably some spot where they're going to cross the line somewhere. Not everybody's going to get in just because they're good people. Like, they got to be exceptionally good. Like, is it pretty good, exceptionally good, almost good? What is it, right? And it's hard to figure that out. When is there a line that says, sorry, you can't go to heaven now? Probably should have thought about that. Yeah, but you didn't warn me. I didn't know I was so close. Like, I don't know, but I don't know what to tell you, but sorry about that. Right. So, in fact, I think that's kind of how most people view life right now, is that it's just on the goodness thing. And I'm pretty good, mostly good. I'm not a terrible person. I never spent a night in jail. Well, I mean, sort of. So we have all these levels. And I really truly think that if God could have figured out a different path, one of them might be this. Hey, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do the sacrifice of the son thing, but you need to worship something of some kind, somebody out there, bigger than you, something. Just pick a religion and be sincere. Just be nice. Like, find a religion that you like and just do it. Just do that. That'd be fine. And so that's another philosophy today. Hey, I'm spiritual. I'm a spiritual person, right? And so I hear that a lot. I'm not very religious, but I'm spiritual. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, well, I do some yoga, and I like to meditate. I read lots of different things, and I eat grape nuts, something. It's like I got to do something wholesome. I hug some things, trees, people, whatever. All right. So I'm just doing some sort of spiritual thing. That if I do that and be sincere, it can't be fake and phony about it. But you have to be sincere. And I think that's another philosophy that most people in our culture today think, hey, I'm spiritual. I'm very spiritual. So I do think that if God had picked those plans, he would have come up, I think he would have said, no, we're not killing Jesus. We're not killing Jesus. So when Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, I think if there had been another way, he would have provided a way out. I do. I think he would, like any good father would do. No, don't kill my kid. I have the power within me to fry you all, but I'm not going to let that happen to my son. That's fascinating, right? So God goes through with the plan, and so does Jesus when he says, your will be done. I hope that's our prayer as well, that we can get to. That's a tough place to get to. But Jesus had even taught us that, right? In Matthew 6. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I do think that that's a pretty broad, that's a broad thing. And so I would like for us to get a little bit more specific when we pray that, because it's easy to say, hey, may your will be done on earth. May your will be done in my life as it is in heaven. That's when it gets hard. That's when it gets fascinating, right? Will I have the will of heaven in my life, guiding my life every step of the way? I like the fact that he starts off with my Father. Nobody prayed like that until Jesus. You wouldn't dare pray like that. That wasn't even in their, they didn't even dream of that. So when Jesus says, our Father, it changes everything for them. The intimacy. Now, not everybody likes the fact that God is seen as our Father, because our fathers, some of us had some bad stuff. Our father was absent, left our mom, cheated on my mom, was drunk, hit me, right? It could be some of our stories where our dads were not good. And so the thought that our Father in heaven is, no thank you, I don't need another one like that. But we do see that from scriptures that our Father in heaven is strong and kind and merciful and yet just. He's faithful. I can count on him, right? Everything you want in a father. And I do think that that's in us as dads, by the way. I think we all desire, I don't think any of us set out to be abusive people or hurtful people or even sinful people when it comes to being a good dad. I want to be a good dad. And I do think that's put in me by God himself. Even if I wasn't a follower of Jesus, I think that is just in people. Like, I do think we desire that, but we fail, we mess up, and we go along the way. But we do know that eventually that the sting of the stuff is only given to us by the healing grace of Jesus himself. I do like the fact that he says, why are you guys sleeping? I think that's a tough thing. Like, what's going on with you? I can sense his disappointment. That'd have been horrible, right? Like if Jesus wakes up or gets up and we're sleeping, like that, I think that'd been horrible. Like, sorry about that, Jesus. Don't do it again. Stay awake. That's all I'm asking is to stay awake. And they do it a couple of times. I don't think they meant to disappoint Jesus. I don't think they did. But you can sense that he's struggling with it. Now all I did was I brought you here to pray. Just be quiet, and you fall asleep. I do think that they would mean to do disappointing things to Jesus in a short period of time, right? We know that. Like Peter is going to deny Jesus 3 times. In the scripture it tells us that, Jesus even says, you're going to deny me. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. No, I'm not. I will never. I promise you, I will not deny you. I will die before I deny you. And we know that he denies Jesus. They're around a campfire. Somebody hears him talking, and he sounds like a Galilean. There's a distinct accent. You're from Galilee. Do you know Jesus? No, I don't know. You don't know Jesus? You're from Galilee. I can tell you're from Galilee. No, I don't. I just went there for a little while. Not really from Galilee. I don't even like those people up there. He says, in fact, he gets to the point of cursing. I don't know him at all. And then we know that the rooster crows and Jesus knows and Pete knows, and it's horrid. Pete now lives with that. Jesus dies. And Pete never got to fix that one. It haunts him. How did Jesus treat his friends after he comes back to life? It's way different, right? Like, Jesus forgives them, reinstates them, trusts them. He did not have to. I think when Jesus comes out of the grave and says, I need a better team than this. These guys are idiots. I can't even count on them. They're sleeping. And they're a denying group of people. They're chicken. I'm not working with these guys. I need a better set of friends. Right? These are good. But Jesus doesn't do that. In fact, even to Pete, right? In Mark 16, it says, go and tell his disciples, including Peter. Why do we need to include Peter? Because he needs to really know. He needs to know this. That Jesus is going ahead of you to Galilee. You'll see him there, just as he told you. Go tell Pete. Huh? Amazing. Pete had been the starting point guard, right? He'd been the cleanup hitter. He'd been the dude to go to when you needed something. And he had failed miserably. Swing and a miss. Once again, swing and a miss. Once again, swing and a miss. Strike out. Third time, sit down. Go find the end of the bench. I don't need you on my team anymore. But he doesn't do that. He reinstates him, trusts him, asks him to lead the movement, and he does. I'm not always really good at this. Sometimes I think I am. I think I've got a handle on it when people have hurt me or disappointed me, said bad things about me or my family. Some have actually come back to ask for forgiveness for the way they treated me and stuff, when I let them know that I have forgiven. Or at least I think I have. Some people haven't asked for forgiveness. And honestly, if I see them in an aisle in Hy-Vee, I won't go down that one. It's not a what is it? A helpful smile in every aisle? No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm going to avoid. I don't want the confrontation. I don't want the awkward dance. Hey, how you doing? Not that I want bad things to happen to them. I don't. Maybe an IRS audit would be fun. Something like that. But I also know at that moment I haven't gotten to the spot where I have reinstated people in my life and I'm got the trust issues up and trying to figure all that stuff out. And hopefully over time, as my heart softens some, that pain won't be so prevalent and I can move on. Because you probably have had friends who've hurt and disappointed you when you need them the most, and it's just caused a lot of stress and pull away. It's not like it was in the garden. You might be facing a difficult path right now. You don't want to walk it. I would encourage you to walk it with Jesus and go find a quiet place, a place of beauty for a little while, and then bring some friends with you and pray. And I think you'll find exactly what you will need during the season, and that your friends will walk with you and help you. Because you shouldn't walk this path alone. And I know that there's paths that seem unfair and very painful, even when you don't understand what's happening and you've asked God to remove it and he doesn't. Thy will be done. Might not change the circumstances. Hopefully it'll change our hearts. That's the prayer, by the will. Thy will be done is the prayer of Easter. Thy will be done is the prayer of forgiveness. Thy will be done is the prayer of the cross. All right. Would you stand and we'll pray together? No doubt there are people here with a lot of burden, heavy things they're dealing with, sadness, grief, pain, fear. And I pray that you will lead them into a garden of safety, peace, surround them with your love, bringing some friends along with them for the journey, so that we will never have to walk alone. Look forward to Sunday, next week, Easter. It's getting fun. Pray that we will be ready. We know the rest of the story. Look forward to it. In Christ I pray. Amen. All right. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.